Assalamu alaikum. Let's cook. Dylan Redwine. We're going to talk about this white American child by the name of Dylan Redwine and the horrible thing that happened to him. His father, a white American man, took him out of here because young Dylan seen some things that his dad was into. Use your imagination. So Dylan Redwine, he's 13 years of age. He lives with his mother. Her name is Elaine Hall in the Colorado Springs area. He also has an older brother by the name of Corey Redwine. Now, Dylan's parents are divorced. His father's name is Mark Redwine, okay? His father lives in Vallecito Reservoir, which is outside of Durango, Colorado. Now, Dylan and his father had a seriously strained relationship by the year of 2012. Why wasn't Dylan feeling his father at all? Well, in 2011, Dylan, he's about 12 years of age. Him and his older brother, Corey Redwine, and their father, Mark Redwine, they're taking a Father's Day trip through the Midwest. Father's Day road trip. So they're staying in a hotel room. The dad, Mark, is asleep. So while they're in the hotel room chilling out on their road trip or whatever, Dylan is using his father's laptop computer. And while he's on his dad's laptop, he accidentally discovered some photographs that were stored on it. What are they? CSAM. Small people sexual abuse material. Seems to be normal for these guys like the dad Mark, huh? So when Dylan sees this at 12, he became very upset. He tried to get his brother Corey's attention without waking their father up. So Dylan tells Corey, hey Corey, go to the bathroom. They go into the hotel bathroom. He wants to show his big brother Corey what he's seen. They lock the door. Then they look at the photographs on their dad's laptop. So Corey pulls out his cell phone and he starts taking pictures of these images that are on a laptop screen. Now Corey, the brother Corey, he has copies of his own. So Corey said that Dylan was pretty disgusted after he's seen what was on his dad's laptop. And after young Dylan seen that, his relationship with his father was pretty much done. It changed. He looked at his dad in a totally different way. Okay, like he was just straight disgusting, a sleazeball, very embarrassing. And from then on out, Dylan just looked at him like, I don't like this dude, man. He really started to not like his father after he seen what was on his laptop. So now we go to August 2012. Remember, Dylan knows what's on his father's laptop and what he's seen and how disgusted he was and what that did to how he looked at his dad. But now Dylan is on a road trip with his father Mark again. Him and his father, they're taking a road trip to Boston. Now this time, Dylan is the only one there. Now I don't know the arrangement. Sometimes Dylan goes, sometimes his brother Corey goes, but this time it's just Dylan and Mark, the dad. They're going through Boston. So the dad, Mark, is criticizing Dylan's mother and his brother Corey to Dylan. You know, telling Dylan that they're bad influence, just talking all kinds of smack about young Dylan's mother and his brother. So Dylan became very angry, okay? He was mad that his father was talking about his mom and his brother. So he called his brother up. Hey, Corey, send me those photos that you have, okay? So he tells Corey, I'm going to confront dad and show him who he really is. He's here talking about my mom and my brother. Send me those pictures, Corey. I want to show him what he really is and how I feel about him. Dylan's like 12 years of age right now, 12 or 13. So Corey is like, nah, Dylan, I can't send them to you. So he didn't send them to Dylan. But Corey, the other brother, he sent the photographs directly to their dad, Mark. And Corey sent them to his father by text. And along with those pictures that he found on the laptop, he sent some insulting messages to his dad. So Mark, the dad, responded to him. He said whatever he wanted to say back. I don't know. This is an all-out argument. They're going back and forth between the dad, Mark, and the brother, Corey. So the dad is pissed. He knows that his son's seen these pictures on his laptop. Now he has proof. My young son seen it and the other son seen it. Okay? So Dylan and his dad, they finished this bitter trip in Boston. Dylan goes back home. He's happy to get away from this dude, his dad, okay? So fast forward about 3 months later. Dylan is 13 years of age now. He has to fly to his dad's house for a court-ordered Thanksgiving visit with his dad, so he has to go. Now remember, Dylan knows about those photos. He's seen all kinds of nasty small people materials on his laptop. Could you imagine what he's seen? Probably hundreds upon hundreds of nasty pictures, small people doing whatever. I can't even imagine. Now, the dad, Mark, he knows that both of his sons seen what he's into. So Dylan flies in, his dad picks him up from the airport. And that evening, Dylan communicated with his mother and his friend. He spoke to his mother at about 9:30 that night, November 18th. And he also spoke to one of his friends, and he's supposed to meet one of his friends the next morning at 6:45, okay? Now, 9:37 on November 18th, 9:37 p.m., that was the last time that Dylan's family heard from him. Dylan was supposed to meet his friend the next morning, 6:45. He never showed up. Now people are panicked. Dylan's mother, his brother Corey, his friend, they're like, where is Dylan at? Where is he at? So later that day, he was reported missing. A massive search began, and a critical location was near his father Mark's house, near the Vallecito Reservoir, okay, which is northeast of a place called Durango, where they live. That's the town, okay? So Dylan's gone. Now, when investigators came by the house, they found Dylan's blood inside his father's residence. They found some. They also had the cadaver dogs out there, and they alerted to areas in the house and, in the bed of the father Mark's pickup or whatever, his pickup truck. But still, no Dylan, and nobody's being arrested for this. This goes on for a year and 8 months, okay? A year and 8 months. His father's living his life, His mother's sad, his family's sad, they can't find him, but his dad is doing whatever. So on November 1st of 2015, a year and 8 months later, hikers discovered part of Dylan's skull up the mountain, a place called Middle Mountain. They discovered part of his skull, okay? And the area where they found his skull is about 8 miles from his father's house. It's on an ATV trail. Now this ATV trail, his father is very familiar with because they go there. So they take that part of the skull, it goes to a forensic examination, and this examination found fractures consistent with blunt force trauma as well as markings consistent with a knife or similar tool. Now this evidence became extremely important, very important, okay? So they have Dylan's skull, stab wounds, and blunt force trauma in the skull. Well, this is just part of his skull, people. They found it a year and 8 months later, okay? Now, what happened was Dylan's father killed him, okay? He killed him. Those photographs that Dylan and his brother Corey had that their father knew about on his computer, some words were exchanged. When Dylan was at the house with his father, he confronted his dad. They had an argument. He told his dad what he seen, let him know how he felt about him. Like, basically, you talking about people, boom, boom, this and that, but what about you? What is this on your computer? The dad is super mad, He became angry. He killed his son. Killed him, took his body up to Middle Mountain, threw him somewhere, different pieces, okay? Chopped him up, did what he wanted to do. Of course, the dad, Mark, is denying all this. Time goes on, no arrest. The dad has not been arrested. He's living his life knowing that he did this to his son. Then on July 22nd, 2017, the father, Mark Redwine, was arrested in Bellingham, Washington, after a grand jury indicted him for second-degree murder and child abuse resulting in death, okay? So they found the rest of Dylan's remains 4 years and 1 month later. First, they only found his skull a year and 8 months, okay? Then 4 years later and 1 month, they found the rest of his body. Now, of course, the dad is denying this. I don't know anything. I would never do this to my son. I didn't do this to Dylan. But they did a full investigation, and the father, Mark Redwine, he was arrested again July 22nd, 2017. He was charged with second-degree murder, child abuse resulting in death. This case had years of delays. There was a mistrial in 2020, and finally, in 2021, they put him on trial, and on July 16th of 2021, the jury found Mark Redwine guilty of second-degree murder and child abuse resulting in death. On October 8th, 2021, he was sentenced to 48 years in prison, followed by 5 years of parole if released. Okay, so another story, people, of an American family annihilator. White man right here. White man, Mayo monster, knuckle-dragging beast. He has an innocent son, 13 years of age. His son wanted to say something about what was going on. You know what I mean? So we know white Americans are already violent, you know? He had no problem taking his son up out of here. All because your 13-year-old son confronted you about some disgusting things that you were into. A predator right here. And people, listen, this stuff is going on week after week, day after day. There's a lot of these knuckle-dragging beasts hobbling amongst the earth with their knuckles scabbing on the ground. What get me is these people, you're so concerned with what black people are doing. So concerned about people getting ran down on by ICE and all that other stuff. Maybe, you know what? Maybe this is why you all don't want Sharia law. First, I never met a white person that even knows what Sharia law is. They just repeating something that they heard. They have no idea what it is, first off. But I bet you crackers do know that it's definitely something that'll get your beak chopped off for doing stuff like this, which is probably why you don't want it and you keep talking about it. Oh, Sharia law. Have no clue what Sharia law is. No clue. I've never heard a white person to this day explain to me what is Sharia law. And I know you don't know. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, I bet you do know that it's something. Whereas if you got caught doing what you do with small people, you're going straight in the wood chipper, head first, slow speed. You know what I mean? You lead the world in this category. White American men. You're worrying about everybody else, what everybody else is doing. Worry about yourself and try to improve your quality of life. They got people out here wanting to offer stipends to your women to produce more white children because you just keep killing them. Stop killing them. You know what I mean? People, get in the comments. Let me know what you know about this, man. Disgusting stuff right here. Easy.